except in her nightcap every night. She never went to bed without her nightcap. And when I was a little girl, she'd comb my hair, and plait it up. I had awful long hair. My hair is nearly black. And she made me a cap, and I didn't like to wear it. I wouldn't wear it of a night. She'd put it on me, and I'd go to bed, and I'd get into bed, I'd pull my cap off, and I never could stand. I never did wear a cap of a night. I ought to. She said my hair'd be so much nicer and would be messed up if I'd wear my cap, but I left my cap off.
Well, when they were started teenage years, and when girls want to look their prettiest to attract the boys, did they have any method of using makeup? Did they use anything for rouge or?
Some girls would paint their cheeks a little, but I don't know what they use for paint now. I never did use any makeup in my life, and I don't know what they used. But I know I got tickled one girl, they just paint their cheeks a little bit. She'd paint hers and went to church, and she just spilled it all over her jaw. She's the funnest looking thing you ever looked at. She got too much rouge.
I've heard they use some berries or something like that.
Well, I don't know what they
I
use.
guess most anything would work.
I never did know what they painted with, but some of them would paint once in a while. But my sisters, they got cutting bangs, and Mother wouldn't let her girls cut bangs. She said that started at the license houses, and she wouldn't let her girls cut bangs.
You didn't curl your hair or roll your hair, did
you? No, they just combed it good with a fine comb, and they'd wash it, and comb it back and roll it up in a big ball back on the back of the head. Well, my hair would cover the whole. I had awful long hair and thick. It'd cover the whole back part of my head. That down was worse than take care of hair like that.
It's a lot easier to take care of now, short, isn't it?
After I was married, I decided I'd have my hair cut. I thought Mother just cut a nose shine on me, but she didn't say anything to me much. She says, I used to comb and plait her hair, and that's about all she said.
Is that right?
But my brother-in-law, I thought he was going to whip me for cutting
your brother?
Said, my brother-in-law.
Oh, brother.
Yeah, he says, you used to have pretty long black hair. Now he says, you've got it bobbed. In-law, he just quarreled at me.
You mentioned your brother-in-law. Maybe this would be a good spot to name your brothers and sisters. What were their names?
Well, my oldest brother was named John.
John.
Second one was Willie. The third one, Smith. Fourth one's Ab.
Ab.
Yeah. Abner was his name,
Abner.
But we called him
Abner.
Ab, that's
for
short.
Sure.
And the fifth one was Avery. And the sixth one was Marshall. The seventh one was Benjamin Harrison. He was born that fall that Benjamin Harrison was elected for president. They named him Benjamin Harrison.
That must have been their man.
Yeah.
And now, is that all your brothers?
Yes, that was my
and your
brothers.
Sisters, what were they?
Rebecca and Delphi, Martha Carolyn is my name, Delphi Evelyn, Rebecca Louise.
Louise.
Yeah.
Well, that's a big family.
Yeah.
You said two were died at birth. Your little.
Well, I think they were just babies, The one was Mary Jane, and the other was Eliza Udine.
Udine.
Yeah.
How do you spell that?
I don't know just how. How would it be spelled? Udine.
Aunt Delphi's girl's Eudine, I think. I guess that's where her name came from. I didn't know that, never heard that. I guess that's
Eudine.
I
I think
guess.
that's the way she spells. Some of the shoemates say Udine.
Udine.
I guess that's where it came from. Never heard that name any other time, but I guess my mama never told me it. Udine shoemates.
What did they use the wild cherry bark for? Did they use it for the wild cherry bark for something?
They'd make tea out of that and drink it to claim that it's good blood medicine.
Is that right?
They drink that.
Burdock
Huh?
and burdock.
Yeah.
Burdock. What did he get the roots of burdock?
Yeah, just get the roots and make tea out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's mostly wild cherry. They drink a lot of, the old people that drink a lot of wild cherry tea, and claim that would,
Mullein syrup.
huh?
Mullein.
Yeah,
mullein.
mullein, they boil that and put honey or sugar in it, boil it down and make a syrup. And that was a syrup now. And it sure will loosen up a cough now. That
Mullein.
Syrup would. Because I tried that. And it was good.
That looks a little like burdock, only it's fuzzy, isn't it?
Yeah, it has a big fuzz. It goes up, well, it'll go that high and has a fuzzy leaf. You just boil that and strain the water out and put the sugar or honey or molasses or anything you wanted in it. Boil it down till it went into a syrup, and then just take a little drink of that, and it'll just loosen up a cough. You don't know how much.
Really?
Just really good.
How about that?
Yeah.
How about that? Now, there were two big floods. In 1916 there was a flood. In 1940 there was a flood, and of course we had one a few years ago too. 77, was that right? But anyhow, do you remember the floods that 1940 and 1916?
Well, I don't remember the dates, nothing about it. I can remember about the first flood we ever had there at my daddy's on Beach Creek, they call it. I can remember that mighty well. Then we didn't have any more bad floods there until after I was married.
Mm-hmm.
We had some bad floods there, but my home over there now.
The river, Mama.
Huh?
Where those people were buried over there at the Greers.
Greens, wasn't it?
Greers.
Green.
A lot of some slides, wasn't? Was there some slides?
Yeah, yes, now that the worst flood we had there after I was married, we lived on Rush Branch. It got to come and burst out all over the fields, in the hollers, in the fields. I don't know, there's about, I guess, 5 or 6, maybe 7 or 8 come up in our mountain fields, in the hollers, and they hit just like a big blast, when one of them burst outs would come.
You could hear it?
Oh, Lord, yes. And you see that water, there's just a big creek of water, when one bursted out. Well, you see that run down, and that would go down in the hollers, you see, and just wash everything away. And I know that one that come now so bad, it got the running in our upper porch come in the door, and we had the screen door up there. I had a work porch built up beside of the house to work in of hot weather. He got running in the porch. My husband that run got him an old door and set up down to turn the water out of the back porch. And it went down in the branch. Oh, it began to look scary. And he said to me, he began to come to the house, let's go to the cellar. We had a 24-foot cement cellar at the edge of the yard, sort of back in the bank. He says, let's go to the cellar. And we run in the cellar, and the water had got under that cellar floor, and it blew the cement up enough until it was coming up through the cement in the cellar. Really? And so we just, I grabbed a supper and some quilts. We thought we'd stay in the cellar that night. You see, our house was right close to the branch. We got afraid maybe he'd get up big enough to take the house away, and maybe it wouldn't take the cellar, hit back in the bank. We was going to stay in there, and that water coming up through the floor, I just run back into the house. But he'd quit then just in a little bit. If it had rained all night, he'd have washed our house and everything out of that branch. But he'd quit for about dusk. It quit raining, and the flood stopped. Mm-hmm. But now I tell you, that got to be a scary looking time there for a while.
I'm sure it was. Well, if mountain had busted open with if it bursted open with a gush of that water above your home, it might have moved it out into the creek, mightn't it?
Into the creek.
I say if the water had come out and got in back of a house.
Oh yeah. But you know, it wasn't high enough there. You see, it's higher up, way back up in the mountain. No, not close to the house. It didn't burst out there. I don't know why it was. That water would gather way back. We had a field way back up in the grazing field. It was a good long ways back up on the mountain. And come 3 burst outs now in that one field in the holler. Hit this wall just like big guns, big dynamites in that field.
Ooh, I bet that was scary.
Oh, it was scary. But that happened to be the water that happened to come down below our house into the branch. That didn't bother us, but now the fields on the other south side, they come down, pretty close to our house. But up on the branch, higher up, their burst outs come all over that mountain. You see it. This wasn't on our field, all on the side of that mountain, all the way up, and that's where that dangerous water was coming from. Now our burst outs, most of it was below our house, but you see the other burst outs was above, and that brought the water down. You see right, that's where it run in our house.
No wonder it was scary.
You bet it was scary.
Well, I wanted to ask you, now your children's names are Stanley and
Henry Clay and Stanley. He would never have his name changed right. Stanley.
Well, just Stanley's enough.
Stanley H. Harmon, but he wouldn't have it that way.
You don't have to give all that double name.
Well.
And Myrtle, of course.
Myrtle.
And let's say who Myrtle. Someone listening to these tapes someday won't know who Myrtle is. So I remember Mrs. Miller. She's a retired teacher from Lansing Elementary School, who was married to Ralph Miller and came to Ashe County to live. And Myrtle is a well-known person in this area and well-liked too. She was an excellent teacher. So you came to live over here with Myrtle, didn't you?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, have we overlooked anything now that you'd like to mention? Is there any more herbs and roots that you can think about?
Nothing more that I can think of.
How about you, Myrtle?
I just think just now, but
now I want to tell you,
old people use bones.
there's one thing I don't guess you ever knew how our summer meat was cured and kept. Did you ever know anything about that?
Well, tell me. I don't know exactly. How did you do it?
I can tell you how my daddy kept it. When he killed his hogs, he had 3 big wooden barrels. No, 2 big wooden barrels. Somebody made for him. And they was airtight, they had to make them tight. And watertight too. And he would salt his side meat all down in one barrel. He'd kill about 3 and 4 and 5 hogs every fall. And he would salt the shoulders and hams in the other barrel. He'd let it lay there 3 weeks and take salt 3 weeks. Well, he'd take that all down. Now he had a smokehouse. There's nothing in that smokehouse but his meat. He never kept no trash or nothing in that smokehouse. He'd just meat in that smokehouse. And it was that house was just about airtight. We had tight supplies, nothing couldn't get in it. And he'd take that meat all out, and he'd cut a little hole in the skin, and he'd have a split. He'd rive splits out of oak timber, make little splits like chair bottoms. You sure saw there by the split. He'd tie that in there and had nails go all along the little jaws. So just had little poles, for jaws. had big nails drove all along there. They hang that meat all up there now. And they'd take, Mother had an old baker, they'd take green hickory wood and put in that old baker and spar it, and it'd make a smoke. It wouldn't burn fast, it'd smoke. They'd smoke that meat and let it hang there till it dripped and dried out good and smoked good. Then they put it back in those barrels and put little salt, sprinkle a little more salt on it. And they had lids now, they was fixed good and tight, so no insects or nothing could get into it. And now that was our summer meat, that we had to use. You see, now it's canned meat, but then it was cured meat.
I see.
And that is what meat now we had to use through the summer.
Well, now when they got it smoked down and, salt cured and then they smoked it, would it keep in hot weather?
Oh, yeah, they smoke it and then pack it back in them barrels. You see, they'd hang it up, and let it drip, and it kind of dried out.
I see.
Yeah, and then they'd sprinkle a little more salt. When they packed it down in them barrels, you see, that'd keep off when fall come, it'd be just as good and fresh as was in this, or when spring, next fall, rather. It'd be good and fresh.
Still good.
And that was the meat we had to use now through the summer.
So you had meat year-round, even if you didn't have refrigeration.
I don't remember us ever being out of meat there at my daddy's. He'd
that?
use a kill of beef in the fall, and we'd use that, early in the fall when it didn't get cold. Sometimes he'd kill a mutton, and so we was never without meat.
Could you could you do the mutton and the beef and all that the same way as you did the hog meat, or just the hog meat?
No, we just had to pack that down, and salt it, and we wouldn't kill it, to begin to turn cold. We just have to cook and use that, before we would try to keep it till got the canning. After got the canning, then after I was married, we killed beef, and I'd can every bit of it I could. Have canned beef before, though we just have to keep it, salted down in the milk house or someplace that way, and use it before it got too strong. We did get it strong.
Well, if you didn't have it sealed up tight, blowflies got in it, didn't
Yeah, if you didn't have a hot weather, blowflies get in it and ruin your meat.
You mentioned the hickory, that you used the hickory to burn to get it in the smokehouse. Hickory was really a fine thing to have around for burning, and you said you used it for dyeing.
Making,
clothes.
you take the bark and boil it and make coloring out of it, and then we use the wood so that you see the hickory. A lot of it, there you go to my dad's place, he'd go to great big trees, they'd just haul it in and split it up to burn in the fireplace, and that's where we got our best ashes.
Tell her about the handles that you used in their mattocks and things like that were made of hickory.
Huh?
The handles in the mattocks.
Yeah, take your mattocks and the hoe handles, and no, they made the hoe handles out of ash. The mattock handles, took more work for them, more tougher wood, make that, and cant hook handles, that they were old logs, that took a lot of weight.
The what?
Cant hook handles, cant hooks, they have roll logs with. You saw cant hooks, haven't you?
Pivy.
Some people call them pivots, old people call them cant hooks.
Can,
And
C-A-N. Can, like a can, C-A-N, can hooks. The old can hooks.
Cant hooks, yeah.
So hickory was a important thing, and then you cut your little hickory switch too, couldn't you?
Yeah, once in a while a big hickory switch come in pretty handy.
And did they use the hickory to make the strips for their chairs, to bottom a chair? Did they use the hickory?
No,
strip?
I don't know whether, they used hickory bark.
Hickory bark.
They'd take a small hickory pole, and shave the bark off split the bark off and bought them chairs with it. But the white oak timber was what they used mostly to make the splits for chairs, chair bottoms. And they
But-
made out of poplar, you know. They'd take small poplar poles and split the bark off of it. I put in a lot of the chair bottom with poplar bark.
Well, they used hickory for making baskets too, didn't they?
Yeah, I guess they did. I don't.
Did you ever make any? You never made any baskets?
No, never made any baskets. People around us made them, but I don't know. I believe those that made the most of the baskets out of white oak.
Uh-huh.
You
Well,
know, it split good.
white oak split
Yeah.
better. Mhm. When you were making your chair bottoms, did you have to let the strips of the hickory bark soak in something to make them soft enough
You
till
had
you could
to,
work
when
with
you took it out, you had to keep it in water, or if it got dry, you know, you couldn't work it. You had to have it limber to make your bottoms.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I put in a many of a box. You know, the men folks would get the bark off for me, and I could bottom a chair just a little bit. Then I got the bottom of the twine, you know, that they tied hay with.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I put bottoms
They make
in
nice
with that.
Uh-huh.
And
Well, that takes a little know-how too, don't it?
yeah, you have to know how to bottom. Now, where I learned that my daddy's, they got an old woman. She's an awful big, stout woman. They got her to come bottom their chairs. I watched her bottom chairs when I was a small kid. I learned how to bottom chairs. Lord, watching her.
The election is passed this year, but it was a lot of excitement around election time in those days when you were growing up.
Yeah, sometimes they'd have fusses and fights, you know, around it. But I think that's got to be about the thing of the past.
Well, it should be, but I understand it. It used to get pretty rough everywhere.
Yeah,
That's what some of the older people have been telling me. That
yeah, they'd get mad, you know, and cut all kinds of shine. And I reckon they got ashamed of themselves. They should have if they didn't.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you remember the first time you got to vote, didn't
Oh,
women?
Sure, I
First
could.
time that women got to vote.
Yeah.
Did you think that was a pretty good thing?
Well, I told them I didn't see any need of it because a woman usually had to vote before her husband voted. And I thought just the men could go and vote and let the women stay at home.
Let the woman just stay at home and work.
Yeah. I know one time the man, he married, he was a Republican, he married a Democrat. Well, she wouldn't turn over. She wouldn't go and vote with him. She voted her way and he voted his way. He said to her one morning he was going over to his farm. He said, let's just go and vote, not go and vote today. In the evening he said he was going over to his farm. He went, and she happened to think after he left that he was going to go and vote and leave her at home. Well, she just called somebody to come take her to the election. Some of them come after her and took her up there, and sure enough, when she got there, her husband's there. You know, they come very near set for eating over that.
Is that
Oh,
right?
yes, sir. She got mad
Is
because he'd run over that way now. If he'd have been honest, it'd have been all right.
Yeah.
But you see now, he's going to run it over, but she's too smart for him. She was a school teacher. She'd been a school teacher, and she's a little too smart for him.
Did the man think that it was a wife's duty to vote the way he saw?
Well, I reckon that's so. Most of them had to vote that way. Well, I don't know whether they had to, but you know, usually if they lived with a man, they'd want to vote with him.
Keep peace in the home.
Well,
wouldn't
yeah.
Well,
Yeah, and I told them that I didn't see any use of the women to go and voting. Once in a while, you know, they'd divide, but usually they voted the same way.
well, a woman's place was in the home, wasn't it?
Well, I think election time, I think she'd be all right at home.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if there's anything else that I had. It seems as though every time we stop talking, we think of something else good.
Yeah.
That
Maybe you can think of something you
Have-
want to
when-
ask about.
What's some of the best, and looking back, what's some of the best things that's happened in a way of improvements? Has it been in the way they built their homes?
Well, I guess so.
Now, you were raised or born in a log house. Was it pretty cold?
Well, they had a big chimney, and there's plenty of timber around, plenty of wood. They had awful big chimneys. They fill that full of wood, and he'd keep the whole house warm. That that firewood.
That was the only way they had a heat in the house was
Yeah.
with the chimneys.
Was with the chimneys. And the old people, you see, they had no stoves. They had to cook on the fire. They'd have priests that hang their kettles, the cooking pots back in the over the fire, and they'd cook, what they boil, and then they'd have the bakers. Of course, you saw the bakers and saw baker bread, I guess. They would bake the bread, and cook them a big pot of meat or vegetables, and that was about what they'd have to eat, for dinner. Was a big pot of vegetables of some kind, a cake of cornbread, and if they had milk, they drank milk, and some of them wouldn't have coffee. A lot of people wouldn't have money to buy coffee with. They'd just drink
spicewood tea.
drink tea of spicewood and sassafras tea.
Spicewood and sassafras.
Yeah.
For coffee.
They drunk it for tea, they made tea out of that and sweetened it and drink it that instead of coffee.
I see. Well, did they ever get to raising chicory coffee?
No, they never did around my home.
Chicory coffee, some people used to grow the chicory, and
I never did see any of that growing.
well, if there's anything else that you think of, why, you let me know and I'll come
Okay.
back.
Okay, I